Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Google Pixel 10 and compare it against the Google Pixel 9 Pro XL and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, the big thing I can definitely tell you between these two types of devices is that they're both very decent options and they're both still very much like major flagships as of this day and age. So I feel like that right there is a very important thing to keep in mind. Now, if you do want to go through and pick up either one of these particular devices, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of these two particular devices. The Google Pixel 9 Pro XL came out last year, so it came out about a year ago, and this is the biggest major flagship that Google pretty much makes. If you don't count their Fold, this is basically one of their most expensive devices that they make. And I do think when you kind of think about it that way, it is kind of interesting because the Pixel 10 is not the most expensive device they make, right? With the 9 Pro XL, this phone basically retailed, I think, for over $1,000 at the time, and it was giving you a 6.8-inch LTPO OLED display. Now, having a display like this, I think is really cool. You know, these types of panels hold up very well in a lot of ways. And I think that right there, it is a really important thing to keep in mind, right? Getting a panel, getting a device like this is fun, but it is a pretty big type of phone. So it's going to be very large, but it still is, I think for the most part, going to look pretty good. And if you are about to go through and pick up some sort of a device, I do think these types of devices and these types of panels still look pretty good and still hold up for the most part in a lot of different ways, right? And I think that's one of those things to keep in mind. So it's 120 Hz display, 3000 nits of peak brightness, and it is a pretty good type of panel when it comes down to it. But when you kind of compare it against some of the competition, right? Look at the Pixel 10. The Pixel 10 is giving you a significantly smaller display. So this panel is going to be a little bit smaller. It's going to be about a 6.3-inch OLED display. So this panel is smaller. It's going to be giving you a little bit of a different type of layout when it comes down to that side. But also with something like the, Google Pixel, 10, it's going to be giving you 3000 nits of peak brightness. The same amount of brightness as something like a, Google Pixel 9 Pro XL, which was the previous flagship. So that is pretty nice to be able to get a pretty big different type of layout from that side as well. And I think that right there is another really important thing to keep in mind there from that side too. So from that particular side, I think that's another really cool thing going on for these types of devices when it kind of comes down to it. Now, on top of that, I think another really important thing to keep in mind here too is that if you are taking a look at these types of devices, with something like a Google Pixel, 9 Pro XL, this phone is going to be significantly, when it first came out, it was more expensive than the Pixel 10. But right now, the Pixel 9 Pro XL is probably going to cost you roughly around, give or take, maybe about, $575, where something like the Google Pixel 10 is costing about $799 brand new. So from a price tag standpoint, there's also just some slight differences when it comes down to it from that side as well. Again, it's not necessarily like the biggest deal in the world, but it could be one of those other like minor small things that will end up kind of happening when you're kind of thinking about it. They both are giving you frosted glass backs on the backside, triple camera setup on the backside as well, wireless charging on both, reverse wireless charging. The Pixel 10 does give you that, kind of MagSafe-esque type of, charging from it, which I think is really cool. So that right there is also another really nice thing going on for that type of device. But when you look at the outside, I do think there's a lot of similarity here and there's a lot of cool overlap, but I don't really think it's like the biggest deal in the world either. And I do think both these phones feel a little bit more similar to me for the most part than they feel like very, very different. So I think from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part as well. Now, on top of that, I think another important area to kind of keep in mind here too are basically the cameras. Now, both these particular cameras are still very good, and they're both very similar when it comes down to it as well. And that's the thing, these cameras that Google has made here, there's a lot of overlap between, one generation to the other, just like iPhones and other phones. So they're both giving you basically these triple camera setups, which look and feel pretty good. I don't really have, too many things to complain about here when it comes down to these types of cameras. So they're both able to give you the Pixel 9 Pro XL is able to give you 8K on the backside, where the Pixel 9 and the 10 only give you 4K at 60. So that is kind of a little bit of an annoyance. I would have loved to have gotten a little bit of a better capability when it came down to that side. But again, what are you going to do? There's not really too much we can kind of do from that standpoint. But I will tell you, both these particular devices still give you a good type of camera. The fact that you can get 4K at 60 on the front and the back. But if you are wanting the device that is giving you an overall better type of layout here from a camera standpoint, it pretty much has to come down to something like a Google Pixel 9 Pro XL. I feel like that type of camera is going to be the one that is going to be the overall better one. And if you are going to go through and pick up some sort of a device, it probably would make more sense to go ahead and buy something like a Google Pixel 9 Pro XL from a camera perspective than something like a Google Pixel 10. So from that side too, I think that kind of covers it up there for the most part as well. Now, on top of that, I think another really important thing to keep in mind here as well is basically software longevity. Now, if you're wanting the device that is going to be giving you overall better type of software, then there are devices like the Google Pixel 10 that is going to basically last longer than something like the Pixel 9 Pro XL. So if you are wanting the device that is going to be giving you an overall better type of experience from that side, then the Pixel 10 is going to be the one that's going to be giving you more software updates and more software features for the long term. So that right there is a very important thing to keep in mind. Again, if you're wanting the device that is going to last longer, then you can go through and buy something like a Google Pixel 10. But the Pixel 9 Pro XL is still going to be here for quite a bit of time. That device is still going to be supported for many, many years as well. And you're not really going to miss out on too much when it comes down to these two devices on that side either. And when it comes down to battery, the Pixel 9 Pro XL is giving you a slightly bigger size battery, but they're like within like 100 milliamp hours within each other almost. So like that's like not that big of a difference. So the battery life could theoretically be better on the Pixel 10 since it has a smaller display to kind of power. So I do think those are really important things to keep in mind there. And some people might actually prefer a smaller size phone than like a much bigger size phone when it comes down to it from that side. Now, I do think another important thing to keep in mind here as well is the performance. The Google Pixel 9 Pro XL is basically going to be giving you that Tensor G4 chipset inside, basically with 16 gigabytes of RAM, where the Pixel 10 is giving you the Tensor G5 chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM. So from this side too, depending on which way you're going to kind of take a look at it, I definitely do like the performance and the capability between both because they both feel like very fast, very good types of devices. And I do think, like I said before, that is a really nice thing to have. But I would also say if you're going to look at both these particular devices, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, even though it's older, still has a very high likelihood of giving you a very good type of performing chipset with a very good type of capability and performance. And I always feel like if you're going to go through and pick up a device, that right there is a very nice thing to basically have from that side too. So once again, it may not be like the most, it might not be the best thing in the world, but I really do like being able to go through and be able to buy these types of devices because they are going to be able to give you really good types of performances from that side as well. So to kind of sum it up, what I can definitely tell you is that with something like the Pixel 9 Pro XL, I feel like this type of device is still going to be giving you a very good type of experience. It's still going to look very, very good. And I do feel like this type of device is still very much like in flagship territory. I feel like with something like the Google Pixel 10, this is one of those types of devices that is still very good too. It's still going to be looking very, very good, but it is the better one here, right? Like if you're going to go through and pick up a device, definitely the Pixel 10 is going to be up there with like still really good flagship. But the fact that the Pixel 10 holds up this well against the Pixel 9 Pro XL is very surprising to me, considering the 9 Pro XL was the major flagship last year from Google Pixel or Google, and the Pixel 10 is like kind of like that mid-tier, higher end mid-tier phone from Google. So if you can swing for it, I'd probably recommend buying a Galaxy S25 Plus or a Galaxy S25 Ultra in my personal opinion. But from that side, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.